they came without warning, blotting out the stars. The people of Earth awoke to the soundless, colossal shadow of the Zerath Dominion's fleet hanging in low orbit. Hundreds of warships, each a floating fortress, glimmered in the night sky like steel predators circling their prey. Then came the message. It didn't matter what language you spoke, the Dominion's words burned into every mind with the precision of a scalpel. People of Earth, you will kneel. You will serve. Or you will be erased. It was not a negotiation. It was a death sentence, pending our submission. 1. Global unification. In the United Nations Security Dome, the air was thick with panic and disbelief. Leaders argued, generals barked orders, and analysts projected casualty estimates that turned stomachs to ice. The Dominion's weapons were beyond anything humanity could counter on paper. But something shifted in that chamber. One by one, voices of surrender fell silent. Perhaps it was pride, perhaps desperation, perhaps the echo of a truth that had kept our species alive through every trial. We have never survived by kneeling. From Beijing to Washington, from Moscow to Lagos, the decision was unanimous. No surrender. No compromise. 2. The awakening of the Black War Fleet. Beneath the Atlantic Ocean, a hidden colossus stirred. The world knew nothing of Project Black, the secret culmination of decades of covert research and stolen alien technology. The initiative had been buried under oceans of secrecy, hidden away in pressurized hangars deep in the Mariana Trench, powered by reactors that could bend spacetime. The fleet had been built for one purpose: to face the day the stars turned against us. Each vessel was a nightmare made real: angular, black hole leviathans bristling with kinetic rail cannons, antimatter lances, and swarms of autonomous hunter drones. The ship's hulls were coated in a light-absorbing material that made them vanish against the void, their forms barely visible even when they passed in front of the sun. That day, the hangar gates opened. The ocean churned as the first ship rose, towering above the waves like an obsidian monument. Then another. And another. Hundreds emerged, their dark silhouettes cutting through the clouds as they ascended into the stratosphere. The Black War Fleet had awakened. 3. First contact turns to first blood. The Dominion expected a frightened, fractured world. They expected our leaders to kneel and our armies to crumble. Instead, they found the Black War Fleet rising to meet them. The opening volley came from Eclipse 1, the fleet's flagship. A single shot from its rail cannon, a tungsten slug accelerated to near-light speed, punched through the Dominion's lead battleship like it was made of paper. No shields, no countermeasures could absorb that much raw kinetic energy. The alien ship split apart in a silent blossom of fire, its debris burning bright in the atmosphere as it fell. The Dominion retaliated, but they were met with tactics they had never faced before. Our ships darted and weaved, using the planet's gravity wells and atmospheric entry to slingshot into attack positions. Stealth modules flickered on and off, turning warships invisible between strikes. Swarms of autonomous drones tore through alien formations, detonating inside shield perimeters where enemy defenses were weakest. From the surface, people watched as burning alien wreckage streaked across the night sky like vengeful comets. 4. The battle for orbit. It wasn't just technology, it was the mindset of a species that had clawed its way up from the mud, fought wars with sticks and stones, then with steel and fire, and now with the power of the stars themselves. The Dominion fleet began to falter. Their rigid formations, designed for predictable enemies, crumbled under human improvisation. Captains on our side acted on instinct, sometimes defying orders if the opportunity was right. That unpredictability shredded the Dominion's command structure. Hours into the battle, the Black War Fleet had forced them into retreat positions. But humanity didn't let them go. Not this time. Eclipse 1 led a pursuit that drove the enemy beyond the moon's orbit, annihilating stragglers and disabling retreating carriers. When the last Dominion ship detonated in the silence of deep space, there was no cheer, only the quiet realization of what had been done. We hadn't just defended Earth. We had declared ourselves to the galaxy. 5. The galaxy takes notice. Across the stars, other civilizations watched in stunned disbelief. The primitive Deathworlders, a backwater species barely recognized in galactic records, had faced one of the most feared empires and won. messages poured in from alien powers. Some congratulatory, some offering alliances, and some laced with threats. We had shattered the illusion of human weakness, but in doing so, we had painted a target on our world. On Earth, the Black War fleet returned to the oceans, their hulls vanishing beneath the waves once more. The world celebrated, but the leaders of Project Black knew the truth: this was only the beginning. Because somewhere out there, other empires had just seen what humans could do. And they were deciding whether to bow, or to strike first. The message arrived at 3:17 Universal Time Coordinated. It was not sent over radio waves, not through light, but directly into the neural frequencies of every living human. Earth. Kneel. Submit to the Dominion. Resist, and you will be erased from the stars. There was no introduction, no reason given, only a command. Above the skies of a dozen cities, shadows moved. Warships of the Zerath Dominion, vast as mountains and bristling with weapons, hung in orbit like a fleet of executioners awaiting the order to strike. Most of humanity saw this as the first moment of alien contact. But for a select few, it was the final trigger. The signal they had been waiting for. 1 years in the shadows. Decades earlier, in 1947, something had crashed in the deserts of New Mexico. The official story spoke of weather balloons and military secrecy, but in truth, that wreck had changed the course of human history. The object was not a simple ship, it was a war relic, ancient even by alien standards. Its hull carried scars from a conflict that had burned across the galaxy long before our recorded history. For decades, its remains were studied in silence. Piece by piece, alien alloys were reverse-engineered. Power cores that bent spacetime were coaxed back to life. Weapons that seemed to ignore the laws of physics were rebuilt in human hands. It took the combined efforts of brilliant scientists, ruthless intelligence agencies, and shadowy financiers to make it possible. The world's governments fought publicly over politics, but behind the curtain, a single clandestine council formed, the Arcadian Directorate. Their mission was simple. Prepare for the day the stars came for us. 2. The message that changed everything. When the Dominion's ultimatum arrived, the Directorate didn't hesitate. In underground bunkers and deep-sea command rooms, encrypted orders were transmitted to installations no civilian had ever heard of. One order, repeated across the globe: initiate Project Black. 3. The Leviathan's rise. Beneath the crushing depths of the Mariana Trench, a blast door the size of a skyscraper began to open. Out of the darkness emerged the first of the Leviathans. These were not ships in the traditional sense, they were moving fortresses, each the length of a small city, coated in an experimental material that swallowed radar, light, and heat. From a distance, they looked like pieces of night itself carved into the shape of war. They were powered by singularity cores, artificial black holes the size of a coin, encased in magnetic containment. Their weapons were not designed for defense. They were designed to kill fleets. And they had names. Abyss 1. Abyss 2. Abyss 3. Names that would soon be whispered with dread across the galaxy. As the first Leviathan breached the ocean's surface, waves the size of tsunamis crashed across the Pacific. The hull steamed under the touch of sunlight, its black armor drinking in the rays until it seemed to dissolve into the horizon. From the Mariana, the North Atlantic, and under ice bases in Antarctica, more ships rose. Hundreds of them. The Black War fleet had come into the light. 4. Tide of War. The Dominion's warships, confident in their superiority, closed ranks over Earth's orbit. They were a civilization used to conquest. Every planet they had faced had either knelt or died in hours. But humanity was not like other species. Our ships did not move in rigid formations. Our tactics did not follow the predictable patterns the Dominion's strategists relied upon. The Leviathans came in fast, using Earth's gravity to slingshot into the enemy's underbelly. The first strike came from Abyss 1. A single gravitic lance fired an invisible spike of distorted spacetime that pierced straight through a Dominion battleship, ripping its hull in half without a sound. The wreck drifted apart, venting atmosphere and alien bodies into the void. Drones, sleek as sharks, poured from Leviathan launch bays. These were hunter-killers, programmed not just to destroy ships but to learn from each kill, adapting mid-battle. Within minutes, Dominion countermeasures were useless. On the ground, humanity watched in awe. The night sky turned into a moving constellation of explosions as alien vessels burned in re-entry. Some fragments lit up the heavens like meteor showers. 5. A new reputation. Within 6 hours, the Dominion's forward fleet was gone. What remained were crippled vessels limping toward the edge of the solar system, pursued every step of the way by the Black War fleet. When the last Dominion ship was destroyed near Neptune's orbit, a single message was transmitted from Abyss One to the Dominion homeworld. We do not kneel. But victory came with a price. The Arcadian Directorate knew that the Black War fleet could not remain hidden again. In the eyes of the galaxy, humanity was no longer a small, primitive species clinging to one blue planet. We were now the world that would not bow. Some would seek our friendship. Others would seek our destruction. Either way, the Black War fleet would be waiting beneath the waves, ready to rise again. The Dominion arrived on a quiet Wednesday morning. No rumble of engines, no atmospheric entry. One moment the sky was empty, the next it was filled with a fleet so vast it blotted out the dawn. Their vessels hung like jagged mountains in the upper atmosphere, their presence pressing down on Earth like an invisible hand. Then came the voice. Not through speakers, not through screens, straight into every human mind. People of Earth, kneel. Your submission will be swift. Your service will be eternal. Resist, and your species will be erased. To the Dominion, it was routine. To them, humans were just another primitive race to be folded into their empire. They were wrong. 1. The demand. In the hours that followed, the world held its breath. Governments scrambled. Armies mobilized. Civilians took to the streets, some in protest, some in prayer. Across news feeds, analysts declared the same grim truth: the Dominion's technology eclipsed ours 1,000-fold. The Dominion expected fear. They expected diplomacy. They expected, at worst, a token show of resistance before capitulation. Instead, they were met with a decision that had been carved into humanity's very bones. We do not kneel. 2. The Black War fleet deploys. From the far side of the moon, massive doors opened in the ancient basalt. Inside lunar caverns, ships slept, ships unlike anything the galaxy had seen in millennia. The Black War fleet. Their origins lay in stolen alien technology, centuries of clandestine engineering, and a ruthlessness that only a species born on a death world could muster. They were not built to survive. They were built to annihilate. From hidden shipyards in the canyons of Mars, more vessels emerged, sleek, predatory silhouettes bristling with weapons that tore at the fabric of space itself. In less than an hour, hundreds of black-hulled warships took formation, moving with a unity that came not from rigid discipline, but from shared intent. There would be no parley. No demands. No quarter. 3. Total annihilation tactics. The first shot was not a warning. Eclipse Prime, the fleet's flagship, launched a relativistic projectile, a tungsten rod the length of a skyscraper, accelerated to a fraction below light speed. It struck the Dominion's central dreadnought before their sensors could even register the attack. The ship folded inward, collapsing under its own warped mass before exploding into a cloud of molten debris. The fleet moved like a pack of hunting wolves. Some ships drew enemy fire, slipping into stealth before reappearing behind the Dominion's lines. Others unleashed dark energy warheads, miniature artificial singularities that swallowed entire cruisers into nothingness. The Dominion's commanders were unprepared for this kind of warfare. They were used to overwhelming force, not an enemy that fought like a cornered animal, fast, unpredictable, and utterly without mercy. In the cold of space, mercy is weakness. Humanity had none to spare. 4. Message returned. By the end of the first hour, half the Dominion's forward fleet was gone. By the second, their formations had collapsed entirely. The Black War fleet did not stop. They pursued the survivors, driving them past Mars' orbit, hunting them through the asteroid belt. Those who tried to flee were cut down by hunter-killer drones that latched onto their hulls and detonated inside their shields. When the last Dominion warship was cornered near Jupiter's shadow, Eclipse Prime transmitted a single message to their homeworld. "We do not kneel." It was not spoken in defiance. It was a statement of fact. Then the ship fired. The final Dominion vessel vanished in a silent flash. 5. The Galactic Reckoning. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. A backwater planet barely on the edge of star maps had not only resisted one of the most feared empires in known space but had obliterated their fleet entirely. Some species sent envoys, seeking alliances with this new and terrifying power. Others began preparing their armies, convinced that humanity was a threat that had to be eliminated before it could grow further. The Dominion itself did not send another fleet. Not yet. The shame of their defeat burned too deeply. But vengeance is a slow, patient thing. On Earth, the Black War fleet returned to its hidden ports. Some to lunar caverns. Some to the dark canyons of Mars. Others vanished entirely into deep space, leaving no trace but the echo of their passage. The message remained. It would be remembered in every council chamber, in every war room, in every whispered conversation among the stars. Humanity does not kneel. And if you come for Earth, the Black War fleet will come for you.